Hello and welcome to your tutorial on Brahms' Lullaby. So we're going to take a look at a few elements of this song, starting with what keys are used in this piece. So if I look at my treble clef, I see that the highest note we are going to play is a treble G. Here's my middle C, here's my treble G. And the lowest note I see on the bass staff is the G below middle C. So we've got ourselves one complete octave of notes. That means that we are able to use the hand position suggested here, where that's a third finger on B in the left hand and a second finger on D in the right hand. And what does that mean? That means that my left hand second finger is going to land on middle C and my thumbs are hovering. Okay, so that means I need to have a nice curved hand position. I will say that there is a moment when instead of my second finger of my right hand playing the D, my left hand thumb is going to play the D. So we do need to be prepared for that movement. Okay, otherwise we have a key signature here, which is the F is sharp, so we're in the key of G. F is sharp, so anytime we see an F in this entire song, we have to play an F sharp instead of an F. And your teacher might recommend that you find all the Fs and write in the sharps, or your teacher might recommend that you remember, because when we really start to use key signatures, we just need to remember what key we're in and what notes are sharp. So we'll leave that up to your teacher. It's also possible for Lullaby that you won't be using a hand position, but that you will be using your own finger choices. But I'm going to assume for the sake of this video that we are all using the fixed hand position that is recommended. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and set up these hands. And I am going to go to my big piano. We're going to set up these hands again. My third finger is on B. My second finger of my right hand is on D. And I'm going to go ahead and instead of putting my right hand fourth finger on F, I'm going to put it on F sharp. And it's important that we start our practice by just orienting ourselves with our finger numbers and our keys. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is a 1, 2, me, then you. 1, 2, me, then you, play a B, left hand third finger, play a D, right hand second finger, play an E, right hand third finger, play a G, treble G, right hand pinky, play bass G, left hand pinky, play an A, left hand fourth finger, play F sharp, right hand fourth finger. All right, we've played every finger that we're going to except one. Play D with your left hand thumb. That's gonna happen too. All right, so now maybe we didn't play middle C, left hand second finger. So now let's do them all a little bit faster. 1, 2, me, then you, play B, F sharp, and E, treble G, middle C, and D, left hand G, left hand A. All right, do that a few more times, calling it out yourself, or rewind, and then make sure you also are doing it with your eyes up, because where you're going to be looking at the music, right? So let's do it with our eyes up. Play a treble G, bass G, and D, middle C, and E, F sharp, and B and A. Okay, now let's go back to the music. All right, and let's orient ourselves with the notes on the staff, okay? So let's just read through these notes on the staff. Now, it's also possible that some of these notes are new to you, depending on where you are in the Mayer and Cole book, and your teacher might write in some finger numbers or even allow you to write in 1 or 2 letter names if it is a note that is brand new to you. But for right now, we're just going to call out the letter names and get used to them that way. All right, so the first note of our song is a B. This is the B right below middle C. The right hand is playing a D, the D above middle C. B's, D, B. Now here's that tricky note that I was telling you about. Your left hand is going to play the note right above this ledger line. And if this ledger line represents middle C, then you got it. This note is the D. And yes, it is the same D that your right hand has been playing. We're just introducing that it can be written 2 different ways. It can be played by either hand. Then we have our treble G, treble F, treble E, E, D, and here's a note we haven't seen yet in the song, A, top of the staff, top of the class. That's our A and our B. Let's see, did we miss any notes that are going to show up in the song? Here we have the note right above the bass F, and that is our G. We've been playing that with our left hand pinky. Looking for a couple other elements. There are a few places in this song where we move by a skip rather than by a step. So on the second line, when we get to it, you'll see that we go from the A on the top of the staff up to the C. Here we play the D with the right hand and skip the E going up to the F. So we have to keep an eye out for when we're playing a skip and skipping a finger and when we're playing a step. A couple other things. This song is in the the time signature of 3/4. There are 3 beats in each measure. And our very first measure is incomplete. It starts with a pair of eighth notes, and that's all that it has in that measure, which means that our first measure only has 1 beat in it. So that means we are coming in on beat 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and. Also, as you just heard, I'm going to count with my ands because of our eighth notes. If we didn't have any eighth notes, we might just count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But because we have eighth notes, we have to break our beat in half into 2 parts for our counting. All right, so what I'd like to do now is tap the first line. We're going to jump straight from clapping into tapping so that we can demonstrate that we know when the left hand is going to play and when the right hand is going to play. And then we're going to go back to our keys and find which keys to play. So for the first line, 1 and 2 and 3 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 and. That's it. That's the first line. All right, now let's put our hands in position, but this time we're not going to play the notes. We're just going to kind of notice which finger is on the note that we're calling out, but we're just going to call out the notes. 1 and 2 and B, B, D and 2 and B, B, D and 2 and B, D, G, and F sharp, and E, and E, and D, and A, B. All right, that's it. Okay, now let's play the first line, and you're going to see me move to let that left hand thumb play the D when it's time. 1 and 2 and 2 and 2 and and I'm stopping in the middle of a phrase, which is a little bit awkward for me, but I want to do it line by line for simplicity. So that was the middle of a phrase, but the end of the first line. All right, now let's look at the next line. We're going to start with tapping. 1 and 2 and 3 and left and running left and 2 and 3 and right and hold and 2 and left and. Okay, and one thing I should actually be doing is making sure the hand that's not playing is actually resting. So I'm going to be better about that it's not even resting on the keys. All right, let's get our hands back in position and let's call out the letter names for the second line. 1 and 2 and 3 and C and A, B, C and 2 and A, C, F, E, D and F and G and 2 and G, G. Good, let's play it. 1 and 2 and 3 and C and A B, C and 2 and A, C, F sharp, E, D and F sharp, G and 2 and G, G. All right, a couple things I noticed. I had to move in skips a couple of times, and when I started playing, I realized I might not have said F sharp on the last run, but I played an F sharp. So that was a little goof on my part. I should have said F sharp when we were calling the notes out. All right, now let's go to the third line. We're going to tap it. 1 and 2 and 3 and hold and 2 and 3 and hold and 2 and left and right and hold and 2 and left and. All right, hands in position. And I need to remember, okay, 1, just calling out the letters. 1 and 2 and 3 and G and 2 and E, C, D and 2 and B, G, C and D and E and D and 2 and G, G. All right, and I'm hoping you're kind of feeling the activation in the finger that would have been playing. And you could practice just saying it and wiggling over and over until you're ready to play, if that helps. Here we go, ready to play. 1 and 2 and 3 and G and 2 and E, C, D and 2 and B, G, C and D and E and D and 2 and G, G. Great, last line, tapping. 1 and 2 and 3 and right and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and left and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and remember, we only have 2 beats in that last measure because we had 1 beat in our incomplete measure, and together they balance out our song. Hands in position to play the last line, or to call out the letters. 1 and 2 and 3 and G and 2 and E, C, D and 2 and B, G, C and B and A and G and 2 and. All right, now playing the last line. 1 and 2 and 3 and G and 2 and E, C and 2 and and 2 and. All right, there we go. Now what I'm going to do is just play the whole song through, once slowly and once a little bit faster. But this is a slow song, but I'm just going to play it at a very, very slow practice tempo. 1 and 2 and. Two and. And 2 and. 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 All right, I've now set the tempo on my metronome to 60, and this will be my performance tempo. So you can also practice along with this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. All right, there you have it, and good luck and have fun.